So I wanted to make a cheap garden trellis. Want one that's going to be durable, not rot out. And there's a ton of different designs out there on the internet. I guess my taste was leading towards more of a durable, heavy-duty design, and on the cheap end. I then started looking at materials, and I really wanted 4x4 cedar, but that was really expensive, and I was really not a big fan of the idea of using treated lumber. I realized it's probably not going to leach that much, but I wanted something natural. I stumbled across this cedar split rail, and it's almost 3x3, and I decided to use that instead. Even better, it's 10 feet long, and it's cheaper than both the treated or the 4x4 cedar. Once I determined my wood, I decided I needed deck screws or stainless steel screws. I'm using 3-inch ones. I'm using welded wire mesh, 2 inches by 4 inches is the hole. Staples to staple the mesh to the posts. Finally, the last decision I had to make was how was I going to set the posts in the ground. And I decided not to use concrete, but instead pack gravel around the post so that water will run through it and not be trapped against the wood and make it rot. My initial designs had a lot of brackets and things like that, but with these split rails I'm able to just screw right through them and not need any of the brackets. So I started off by laying out the posts and laying out the wire mesh, cutting it to the length I need, and yeah, this roll was a little expensive, but you can use this stuff for tons of things. You can use it as tomato cages, use it to protect plants from rabbits. So even though I have a lot left over, you can make more than one trellis. I'm using staples to nail the wire mesh down. You could use nails and bend them over. I'm using staple or two every couple holes or so. Make sure that they're secure. Now that I've got that step done, I am going to measure and cut the cross beams. Once your cross beams are cut, I'm going to use the 3-inch screws and go right through the cross beams into the posts, using 2 or 3 per corner to make sure that it's going to be very, very secure. I should mention that when you buy cedar, you want the reddish part of the cedar wood, not the white part. The white part is the sapwood, and that is not as resistant as the red heartwood to bugs and rot. Flip it over and secure the top and bottom of the mesh to the cross beams. And that's it. Now you have to put it in the ground. So measure out the distance between where the 2 posts are going to go. Mark them. You can see my ground's a little uneven, so I'm going to have to make sure I dig the holes down to the same depth. I'm starting with a shovel to break it up, but then I'm going to use a post hole digger. You could use a shovel the rest of the way, but a post hole digger makes this job actually pretty easy. From my research, I found that the consensus seems to be that 1/3 of your post needs to go into the ground. So on a 10-foot post, about 3 feet or so of that need to go into the ground. Dig the hole deeper than you need so that you can put some rock at the bottom so water can't accumulate and rot out the bottoms of the posts. I'm using my level to measure down from on both sides to see that they're both the same depth. When you have them the same depth, then you put some rocks and then you drop in your trellis. Position the trellis, use your level to make sure it's standing up straight, and slowly add gravel around both posts. Tamp that gravel down, add more gravel to both sides, and continue until you filled up the holes. Should mention you don't want your lattice or trellis right next to your house. You should leave a gap of maybe 6 inches, a foot, uh, for maintenance, and so air can get back there and the plants aren't growing into your siding. I ended up using about 2 or 3 bags of gravel per post hole. If you're not going as deep, you won't need as much gravel. And that's it. I did make a couple different styles. The smaller ones were upside the house, and I have a larger double-sized one near my garage. That was the spring, and now you can see I have some cucumbers and honeysuckle growing next to the garage.